Ask questions. She commented for you.
Yes, it's Vitaly. Vitaly asked questions, about 4 questions about foreign debts, about health, about housing, and so on. But let me say this. First of all, on debts. In the last 13 years of democracy, Nigeria was able to exit the debt trap. At a point, we were owing about $35 billion to the Paris Club of lending nations. We were able, because of our reforms and persuasion on the need to help the country develop its economy, we were able to exit the Paris Club of nations. We paid our debts. $18 billion was taken off those debts, and we paid off the rest. And so today, the total debt quantum, foreign debt, Nigeria is owing about $5 billion. And if you compare that to our foreign reserve or our capacity, it isn't yet a problem as far as external debts are concerned. Now, in the past, what led to those debts becoming a problem was that they were taken for things that were not productive. And they were not taken in particular by everybody was coming out for debts here, state governments, local governments, and people were taking debts that were not invested in infrastructure, in production, in things that will make those debts pay back. Otherwise, every nation, every developing nation, even developed ones, are not free of debts. It depends on our attitude to debts. I agree that our debts should not overwhelm our capacity to pay back. But what is most important, what is changing now, is that the new debts that government is arranging are going into the railways and are going into infrastructure that will pay back. They are private sector debts warranted by government because they are going to be given at lower interest by countries that are giving those debts. For example, the Chinese Exim Bank will be negotiating debts to build modern railways. We're already building one between the standard gauge between Kaduna and Abuja. We have started the one that will come all the way from Lagos through Ibadan, Ilorin, Mina, link up with the one from Abuja up to Kano. Now, those new projects are private sector projects, and they will develop infrastructure, they will modernize the country, they will generate the income, because railway is a huge thing in Nigeria, a population of 167 million people. You can see the passenger outlay, particularly between the major cities. So we are now no longer taking government debts, as it were, but they are private sector debts that are going to propel the economy. For example, now we are reforming the power sector. There will be companies that want to build their power plants. They want to generate their own power and transmission lines. If those companies bring bankable projects that have been able to persuade their lenders, and they want government to support them, because we have that infrastructure gap, government will weigh carefully the capacity of these companies and the business plan they have and support them. But this is not going to be a government debt like it used to be. People used to take debt for all manner of things, including debt to buy goods from abroad to go and distribute at home. Now that is gone. So I think, yes, we are constantly watching our debt ratio vis-a-vis our GDP, our foreign reserves. And so far, I can say clearly that Nigeria does not have a problem yet, and we will not arrive at that problem, because the plan on the ground now is to make sure we never arrive at a situation where we will go back onto the debt trap. But we will borrow where we think is an opportunity to invest in the economy. We will do that, and that is exactly what government is doing, to expand the economy, to expand opportunities, and those are debts being borrowed by investors, not directly by government. Government warranty, because it's going to develop infrastructure gap in our country. So that is where we're heading to. In relation to housing, we have just unveiled a new housing policy. We had a huge housing gap in the country for a long time because of disruption in government policies. Don't forget, before the last 13 years, we never had a government that could carry on policy and give another, because it's a coup that brings a government to power. When it goes, another coup disrupts and replaces everything they have done. Nigeria was a theater where men on horsebacks fought for power. Now, with democracy, you now have systematic institutions. You now have power moving from one hand to another. You have institutions that are guiding the process of governance and the economy. And so there is confidence. So you can now have a policy that will move on no matter which government comes to power. And that one, in the housing sector, we have just unveiled a new housing policy which emphasizes private sector-driven mortgage institutions that will work with government to create the kind of credit facility that will enable Nigerians to have long-term housing from mortgage companies. Presently, we don't even have a proper mortgage finance system. And that is the problem with the housing sector. In the past, governments would build houses directly for people, and it never really worked because we knew that government resources were limited. But so long as there is a need, now we have modernized our pension system. There are pension companies. A lot of the funds is lying idle in banks. Now, with a proper mortgage company, with contribution from banks, with contribution from pension companies and government, you can have a stable mortgage finance system that will enable people borrow money on a long term, pay back in 25 years with very, very low interest. And private companies can now buy, take advantage of this financial system and build millions of houses. So we now have also a social housing system that we're thinking of building several houses in partnership with private mortgage companies. And I think the problem has been a policy. Because when you have a policy where people, all the actors see an opportunity, then there will be a lot of expansion, sustainable. So we are getting that done. I can't give you a deadline, but I am sure that this policy has been passed, and even the last Federal Executive Council, we discussed the question of this institution. So all these are being put in place. Maybe the next government will have a different environment altogether, and the system will regenerate itself like you have in England, like you have all over the world, where the mortgage sector is a huge opportunity to create jobs. Because you create more wealth and job opportunities in housing than most other sectors. So we're targeting this sector, and I believe that government policy there will produce the kind of results in the long run. On health, yes, I agree with you. We have challenges in the health sector, but also a lot of work has been done in the last 10 years, particularly in the last two of President Goodluck Jonathan. We're investing a lot in revamping health infrastructure, training institutions, creating the kind of social intervention at the primary health sector, where the broad majority of the people depend on, particularly the rural and the urban poor. So we're creating that kind of intervention particularly at the state and federal level. But we're also looking at health at the global level. We are building tertiary health institutions, particularly teaching hospitals, and we're revamping them, standardizing them such that most people who really have real health challenges can be treated at home. But one thing that has been brought on board is to elevate private sector investment in the health sector. And a number of Nigerians and companies abroad are now looking at the opportunity to build top-level private hospitals in Nigeria, where we will have the opportunity to compete between the private hospitals and the tertiary government institutions like teaching hospitals. And a lot of progress is being made in the health sector. Professor Chukwu, who is the Minister of Health, and Dr. Patti, they are doing a great job in the health sector. Like I said, it's work in progress. We have not arrived there, but I see a lot of progress. Lastly, you talk about zoning. We are very concerned about the debate in Nigeria. Even here, when we talk about the police, we were talking about South, North, and I was trying to dismiss that. From 1951 to now, Nigerian politics has been forced on ethnic alliances, region versus region, religion versus religion, tribe versus tribe. Now, you and I must go beyond that. And the election of President Goodluck Jonathan is an affirmation that the people of Nigeria are no longer interested in where people come from, but whether you have the right answers, and everybody in Nigeria has a right to rule. That is what we are saying. A number of us, north, south, east, west, we are saying that thereof not we must go. Do you have the answers? Can the people of Nigeria, Nigerian voter, young, upward-looking people now, we want a president that gives results. So the zoning thing will die down, but there are still extreme forces who benefit on divisions. But the president and all of us are working towards a modern nation.
Yeah, Honorable Mr. Sir, 1 minute to answer Azu. We've got calls waiting on the line. 1 minute to answer Azu.
Yeah. Yes.
Caller, could you just angle 1 minute for the minister to just answer this question?
Let me say this. Exactly. Azu,
sir, let me take this call. It's been hanging on. Okay, go ahead and let's take your questions. Your name and where you're calling from. Turn down the volume of your TV set, please.
Yeah, it's already turned down.
Okay, go ahead
I'm coming from Verona, Italy.
Okay. Verona, okay.
Good day, Honorable Minister, please.
You have not told us your name.
Yeah, in fact, I want to really thank the ministry.